So we've got the good neighbor policy. Non-interventionist plan calls for the U.S. to become good neighbors and stay out of Latin American affairs. Again, it drives U.S. foreign policy after World War I. And we said that after World War I, many European countries are moving toward totalitarian governments. So that's going to be a centralized government in which a single party rules without opposition over political, economic, social, or cultural life. So again, basically all aspects of citizens' lives are controlled by the government. So there are three major examples of totalitarian governments in this post-World War I era. Go. Got fascism. So we got fascist Italy. Give me a ruler. Benito Mussolini. Yep, that's Italian people. No? Okay. All right, so we got fascist Italy, Benito Mussolini. Who's up next? We do have Germany. What type of Germany, though?
Nazi Germany.
Nazi Germany.
So are these like
Is communist Russia one?
Yeah, and that's my last one. Communist Soviet Union. Good. Are these what now?
So these aren't all dictatorships, are they? Or are they?
All of these are dictatorship. Yeah, in order to be a totalitarian government, it's going to have to be a dictatorship,
So-
and there can be no opposition.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, like, it would be the equivalent of the Republican Party saying there can be no Democrats, there can be no Green Party, no
So,
libertarians.
Even though they're calling like fascism and then the Nazi Party and the Communist Party, they're really all totalitarian governments.
They are all totalitarian governments. It's just their particular brand of totalitarianism.
Thank you.
So they're fascists, they're Nazis, and they're communists. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Let's talk about each one of these dictators individually. First up, let's talk about Joseph Stalin. So Joseph Stalin takes power after the death of this dude named Vladimir Lenin, right? So Lenin was the dude, like you're just listening, Lenin was the dude who helped get Russia, because it wasn't Soviet Union then, it was Russia out of the Russian Revolution. And he had this plan, right? So his plan was peace, power, and land. He wanted to restore peace. He wanted them out of the World War I immediately. He wanted power distributed to the Soviets or the councils, and he wanted land given to the people. Okay, so remember, communism is that whole idea of collective responsibility, that idea that we provide for the people, the state provides for the people based on what they need as opposed to based on what they can afford. That's communism. In theory. Okay, so we got Joseph Stalin. He and Leon Trotsky are fighting for power. Clearly, because most of you have never heard of Leon Trotsky. Who won? Joseph Stalin. What is Stalin's ultimate goal in life? He has one goal. He's like Pinky in the Brain. Kinda.
Power.
Power. But that power comes by doing what for Russia? He wants to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union. So Stalin's goal is to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union. Stalin's goal is to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union. In an effort to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union, he creates what to carry out his plan? In an effort to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union, what's the name of his plan that's going to carry out the industrialization? By the way, I'm recording this lecture so I can post it for my online class because I lost all my files. So you're making me look like real great right now. It's called the 5-year plans. So Stalin's goal is to rapidly industrialize the USSR in an effort to industrialize. He initiates the 5-year plans. And notice I said plans, right, with the S. So this is a series of economic and social plans designed to rapidly industrialize the Soviet Union from an agricultural economy to an industrialized nation. So it's a series of economic and social plans designed to transform the USSR from agricultural to industrialized nation. So again, 5-year plans, series of economic and social plans designed to transform the Soviet Union from an agricultural to an industrialized nation. His plan calls for something called collectivization. So his plan calls for collectivization. So collectivization just means we have these small private farms that we take from the people and we consolidate them into this big farm. And that one big farm is called a collective. So collectivization means small private farms are consolidated into one big farm. What's the deal on the one big farm? Who owns, operates?
Is it the government?
Yeah, the state. That is controlled / run by the government / state, same thing. All right, so collectivization, small private farms consolidated into one huge collective. And the farmers work in these commonly owned fields, and those fields are owned by the state. Who loses in collectivization, happy people? The people lose. Because we went from I owned my own implements, I owned my own farm, I owned my own animals, to now it's a state run, and the state just took over my resources to carry out their plan. Do you get that? Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, so to initiate this collectivization plan, the USSR takes on like this major propaganda campaign, which is basically, I'm trying to convince you that collectivization is what's best for the Soviet Union. Make sense? Okay, so we've undertaken this plan. We get this one group of people called kulaks. And kulaks are these well-off peasant farmers. They own their own land, tools, animals. Like, they are living the life. Kulaks resent giving up their land. And they start to rally. Now, we said that totalitarian government, by definition, means that there can be no opposition. How is the Soviet Union going to respond to the kulaks rallying? Military, yes. Like, that's what they're going to do. They're going to attack. Like, it's not going to be good for the kulaks. So Stalin and the government soldiers forced the kulaks to participate at gunpoint. In response, the kulaks are going to burn their crops. Kulaks respond by burning crops. They smash equipment. They kill animals. They kill half of the Soviet Union's horses and cattle, and 2/3 of the sheep and goat. Goats.
That's a costly war.
It's very costly. It's going to become even costlier when Stalin kills between 8 and 10 million of them in something called the Great Purges. Because again, the whole point is there can be no opposition. And if you are rallying, you're not supporting the program, you equal opposition. I have a friend who says sheeps, and I think it's so adorable. Like plural, with an S on it. What's the problem with saying sheeps? Happy people?
It's not grammatically correct.
It's already plural. Like, it doesn't need any assistance from you. The English language is real complicated.
It just falls out of it.
Sheeps.
English language is dumb.
Huh?
English language is dumb, is what she said.
It kind of is. Like, it's real hard. Like, Mandarin is like the hardest language ever. And,
English is right up there with
oh my goodness. But, like, Asian people have so much more trouble with English. Like, that he, she, that pronoun thing is a mess. Like, it doesn't even come naturally to us. I was going to say it comes natural to most of us, but that's a lie. Because clearly my friend wouldn't say sheeps. Like, the rules don't apply. Like,
It's because
I before E except after C.
we borrow so many rules from every other language.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
But the basis is like Germanic, so it's just weird. We're just weird. It's cool though, I guess, or not.
I don't like that.
You don't like it? A little too late. Like, we're in it now. All right, so they're killing all these animals. Stalin responds by having over 8 million arrested. Some are killed. Some are sent to slave labor camps. Others starved to death. Are starved to death. Others are. Yeah. Not only is he responsible for the death of millions of kulaks, but he also has his secret police. Like, his secret police are called the Nkvd. And the Nkvd are going to kill millions more in what we just talked about, the Great Purges. And it's just like it sounds, people. We are purging the Soviet Union of anyone who opposes our communist totalitarian government. Stalin, here. Great Purges represent Stalin's attempt to purge the Soviet Union of all threats. I'm going to put real or imagined. So you don't have to be a real threat, but someone perceived you as a threat, and I have to purge you. So, like, let's say Sally Sue doesn't like you. So Sally Sue's like, hey, Bledsoe over here, she's working too hard, because really what her ultimate goal is to, like, take over the Soviet Union. They're going to kill Bledsoe. You can work too hard and be persecuted. You can work not hard enough and be persecuted. Because if you're not working hard enough, you're trying to, like, thwart my attempts at greatness, right? Do you get that? It's like a funny little balance you've got to maintain. Yeah.
work too hard and get persecuted.
Work too hard. Think about that kid who's in every class. Not this class, of course. This class is completely different. But that kid who they teach more than the teacher does. That's working too hard. So the other students, they tend not to respond really well to that kid. You know what I mean? Like, that's this. When you work too hard, I assume you're trying to take over. Not in this class. This is not a reflection of my views. This is an example. Solely for this experiment. I don't know, whatever. All right, cool. So that's working too hard. Like, because, like, what's your goal in working too hard? What are you trying to do? Huh? It's no raise, it's communism. You're just gonna keep coming up short. There's no raise in communism. No, because it's still provided for based on what you need. It's not like, don't think rationally. Don't think logically. Don't think that I'm going to get some extra potatoes because I'm working hard. You are not. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
This is so sad because the supposed intent of communism is to make life better, and then they kill all these people.
Communism on paper is a beautiful thing.
From an ideological
Yes.
point of view.
Yes, on paper, communism works really well. The application is quite often where we get into trouble with communism and socialism. But yeah, on paper, it sounds real idealistic, right? Like on paper, everybody's needs are provided for based on what they need as opposed to what they can afford. Everything is, because your needs are provided for, there's no war, there's no conflict. Because when people's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs says what? You know Maslow? You need basic stuff first, right? And once you have that basic stuff, then like you're pretty much good with the basic stuff. Like everything else is kind of like an add-on benefit. But the basic stuff, food, shelter, like love's I think way at the very top. Is love at the top? What's at the top, people?
It's not the complete top. It's close to it. I don't remember.
What's the top?
It's like the final, like I'm happy with myself, I think is.
Oh, okay.
So it's not really a need. It's
Okay.
just
And see, they added that. When I was in undergrad taking psychology, that didn't exist. Like, they've changed it.
Happy socializable.
Yeah. Basic need, basic need, basic need. Contentment with self, whatever. Nobody's reaching that one. All right, cool. Yes, you will, people. You'll be happy with yourselves. Yes, you do. So, Great Purges, we're trying to attempt to purge the Soviet Union of all threats, real or imagined. So, if you're accused of being against the state, you're seen as an enemy. You're normally sentenced without a trial. You go to a death camp or they kill you. It's called the Great Purges because that's literally what Stalin is doing. He is purging the government of all opposition. So that's Stalin. Let's talk about Benito Mussolini, our Italian dictator. Hold on, let me spell Mussolini right first. Italian dictator. I'm going to put fascist dictator. Okay, so remember last time we talked about Italy. Italy started World War I on the side of the Triple Alliance, right? Okay, but then what happened? 1917, what did they do? They switched to the Allied side. And they switched to the Allied side because they thought that they would make like territorial land gains as a result of that switch. They don't make any territorial land gains. So, you know, that's how it works. We get Mussolini. He rises to power. Technically, he rises to power through a parade called the March on Rome. Yeah, it's a parade. But really, like Emmanuel III had kind of already given him power. So Mussolini just used the March on Rome to kind of put his stamp on it, yeah. He kills like 12 people just to like show he's in power on the parade route. That's the March on Rome. Like Hitler, interestingly enough, Hitler tried to attempt his own March on Rome. It was called the Beer Hall Push. And it's a huge failure. He actually goes to jail for it, which lets you know Hitler wasn't always Hitler. Like the Hitler that not we've come to know and love, but the Hitler that we know, right, right. he went to jail for it, and it's when Hitler's in jail for the beer hall push, like his March on Rome attempt, that he writes that infamous little book called Mein Kampf. In the words of Lil Bootsy, My Struggle. Yep. He told the world in 1929 what his plan was. Like, he told everybody he was crazy. They kind of ignored it, but it's okay. All right, so cool. So Mussolini took power with the March on Rome. He rises to the position of dictator. He creates an Italian political party, and it's called the Fascist Party. What I need you to understand about Hitler, Mussolini, and Stalin is that they all operate under, like, paranoia. And because they're paranoid, they utilize terror to keep the people in check. So, like, it's like mayhem. Like, they utilize mind control games, I guess, and propaganda, which is like mind control games, to keep the people in check. So he comes up with this Italian political party called fascism, and this is the basis for fascism. So fascism, Italian political party, they believe in extreme nationalism or militarism. They glorify, I'm gonna get that right, warfare.
It's basically, it's kind of like a Holocaust, but in France.
What?
Have you ever read the book Sarah's Key?
Mm-mm.
Well, it's basically about like this little girl's life, except she's in France and they're having like their own like little Holocaust there. It's a really crazy story. Like, it's fictional, but it's.
Are they killing
like
Jewish
history
people?
and stuff. I don't really know. I think so, but I don't know.
You don't remember? Okay.
It's kind of like a book thief, but different. It's basically.
Oh, the book thief was good.
Yeah.
It was good. It's another one of those I need to get for bad teacher. Book thief.
Honestly, but yeah.
Yeah,
There's so much history there.
it is. Good stuff. Well, I don't really know if it's good stuff, but it's a good movie to watch. All right. They oppose liberal democracy. And they call for single-party parliamentary government. Parliamentary government. Again, there can be no opposition. That's the moral of this story. And they're also hostile to socialism. So they don't like democracy. They don't like socialism. They are extreme nationalists. So that's that willing to die for country. Intense emotional connection to the land, the culture, the people, the heritage. Do you realize nationalism is really what's fueling World War II? Like, Hitler's whole Lebensraum is based on what? Nationalism. And you know, Italy was one of those countries that left the League of Nations, right? Why did they leave the League? They had a conflict with what country? It's an African country. Ethiopia. Yeah.
Is Japan kind of like this too?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Japan has a totalitarian government.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, that's what
And we know they left the League too, right? Yeah. And they left the League because of why? Their conflict with who? China by way of Manchuria. Cool. Good. All right. So, let's talk about Adolf Hitler. Clearly, Adolf Hitler is from Nazi Germany. It's my favorite way to say Nazi. Makes me think about Brad Pitt. Nazis. We ain't into taking prisoner business. We into killing Nazi business. And cutting business is a booming. Very good. All right, so Adolf Hitler, born in Austria, he becomes a radical German nationalist during World War I. He becomes leader of the Nationalist Socialist German Workers' Party, which is short for the Nazis, in the 1920s, and he becomes dictator of Germany in 1933. And technically, he's like chancellor, but it's like dictator, so it's the same thing. Nazism. So this is a German political party that believes in everything we just talked about for fascist. So you're going to write all that stuff down for fascism, right? So what are we writing down? They oppose liberal democracy, single party politics.
Glorify warfare.
They glorify warfare, extreme nationalism. They oppose socialism, hostile to socialism. But guess what, people? They add something. What do the Nazis add? Huh? Persecution of who? Lots of different people. Okay, so we're gonna put they add racism.
Anti-Semitism.
Okay, but it's not just like they don't like Jews. They don't like black people. They don't like all sorts of people. They don't.
Yeah, they would kill.
Hitler does not, like, he sees that as a defect, a weakness within the Aryan race. Yeah. So racism's pretty big. He doesn't like black people. Like, he got up and walked out of the 36 Olympics because Jesse Owens was like winning medals. He doesn't like Jews in particular. When you don't like Jews, what type of racism is that called? Okay, so you're anti-Semitic. Yeah, so that's Hitler. Hitler doesn't like lots of people, though, people. Like, don't get it twisted. He doesn't like Jehovah's Witnesses. He doesn't like homosexuals.
He really doesn't like anybody.
He doesn't like lots of people. He really doesn't. He doesn't like veterans who are amputees. Now, if the veteran amputee things mean, when did you lose your limb? For your country. Hitler doesn't like you. He doesn't like kids who have like levels of mental challenges. He actually has this program called the Sunny Days program. Sunny Days program is like an interesting thing. Like, he takes these little kids on this bus and he like takes them out to the woods, because the whole point is it's a sunny day program, so you get to leave like the home, and he gasses them like euthanasia, like not like youth in Asia, but like EU, you know what I mean? Like euthanasia. Yeah, he like kills them on the bus and they die because they're seen as a defect. If you are a woman who's having like kids with like developmental issues, he's going to have you sterilized because you're part of the problem. It's very interesting. Very interesting. Why does he rise to power, though? Like, why would we allow someone like Hitler to rise to power? He is a smooth talker. Like, Mussolini, Hitler, and Stalin all share that in common. They are very charismatic. It's odd.
And also all the turmoil after World War I.
Boom and boom. It's because of the Great Depression. It's because of all of the turmoil that we're dealing with after World War I. Like, that's exactly what it is. He's the perfect storm. Like, his ideology might not have worked prior to this era, but it's perfect for this era because the people see it as it's a response to this Great Depression era. Plus, think about it like this. The Treaty of Versailles, which is what ended World War I, was designed to do what? It was designed to humiliate Germany. Like, the whole point was to destroy Germany. And Hitler has like a platform. He has a plan in which he's trying to fix this depression issue. And he creates a scapegoat. Who's a scapegoat? Here, hold on, let's see. So, Hitler rises to power largely because the Germans felt humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles. Remember, Treaty of Versailles, they had to accept the war guilt clause. They had to, which meant like they caused the war. They had to disarm. They had to pay reparations, right? Like reparations is what kind of got us into this Great Depression thing. Like Germany couldn't pay Britain and France. Britain and France couldn't pay
Anybody else?
the United States in particular, right? So this is like that circle that we were talking about. It's not working out well. So Germany felt humiliated because Germans felt humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles and the economic problems that arose as a result of reparations. Hitler is promising a way out of the Depression. So it's just like the times allowed for Hitler to rise to power. Like we encounter crazy on a daily basis, most of us. Like crazy is waiting for you outside the corner store every morning. He needs money for McDonald's. And you just walk past crazy most days. But in the right economic situation, like crazy sounds like logic when he's spouting all his stuff. Who is Hitler going to scapegoat? Who's his biggest scapegoat? Jews are his biggest scapegoat. Because this stereotypical Jew is associated with which business? Banking. And think about it like this. Do you realize when most people think about being a Jew, they associate it with what? Judaism. So if they're not practicing Judaism, lots of people don't consider themselves Jews or Jewish. So lots of people had no clue that they were Jewish until, like little kids, imagine. You had no clue you were Jewish until you showed up for school in 1935 and they had completely segregated you from your Aryan classmates. But you're like, and then your daddy's regular Aryan. Your mom's Jewish. Your daddy's like regular Aryan. And then your daddy like completely forsakes your family and he goes off and he marries some other Aryan woman and he leaves y'all to live in the attic. Great, daddy. Jesus is going to give you a star for that one. Well, I guess he's not really concerned about. Well, he's Aryan, so maybe he likes Jesus. I don't know how that works. Very good. All right. So, but like Aryan husbands leave their Jewish wives, right? To like fend with the kids for themselves. And like they just completely desert them. Yeah, it's sad. All right. So, one of the first things Hitler is going to do as dictator is he's going to leave the League of Nations. Again, this shows us the ineffectiveness of the League of Nations, right? Should you be able to leave the gang? Nope. It's real ineffective. He creates his own alliance with Italy. So first up, we get the Rome-Berlin axis. So this is between Hitler and who? Mussolini. So Hitler and Mussolini create an alliance. Then we get the Tripartite Pact. This is Japan, Italy, and Germany. So Japan left the League because of Manchuria, China stuff. Italy left the League because of what type of stuff? What country? Ethiopia stuff. And then Germany left the League because they felt humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles. So, all of this is going on in Europe, and what is the United States doing? Staying out of it. So the United States is still practicing what we like to call isolationism. Basically, they believe that they are so far away from Europe that they can effectively stay out of the fray. Here, I'd like to direct your attention to YouTube. You know I love these YouTube moments. So, let's see, what is it called? Little Hitler, Little Hitler. Can I have a set of lights, please?
Everyone gets the same.
Hold on, let me pause it. I need full sound, people, for Little Hitler. He's not funny, but he's so accurate. It's kind of genius. All right, Little Hitler.
My teacher? Yes, Little Hitler. My desk is small. I need this Polish boy's desk also. Everyone gets the same size desk, Little Hitler.
Little Hitler,
Now, class. My teacher? I'm gonna need the Czechoslovakian boy's desk as well. Little Hitler, where's Little Pulaski?
Little Hitler,
What's going on here? It's not my problem. It's my problem.
All right, so the accuracy, right? When does so one, we see that the United States is practicing what foreign policy? Isolationism. It's real clear, right? Because they are out of this war until when? Pearl Harbor. And that was represented by the little Japanese kid, right, who came in and knocked over the milk carton. Why does Europe get involved in this war? Invasion of Poland. And then after Poland, we got like Munich conference, right? So you saw Munich conference with, he said he needed whose desk? Czechoslovakia. Little Hitler is like on the test, you're going to be singing Little Hitler in your head, but you're going to get stuff right on the test. So I'm okay with it. Completely okay. Let's talk about these Neutrality Acts, since the United States is using this method of, what is it called? Foreign policy of isolationism. Neutrality Acts basically say we are not going to get involved. So we got Neutrality Acts of 1935, 36, and 37. They are designed to keep the U.S. out of European war, like World War I. It basically says that the U.S. cannot loan money to belligerents. Like, belligerents are people who are looking to fight. It basically prevents America from selling weapons to aggressive foreign countries. Yet, in 1937, Japan is going to launch a full-scale attack on China. And the United States is basically going to respond with, oh, it's not really war. So this whole idea of what is an aggressive foreign country and what is a belligerent is kind of subjective to the United States.
Like private businesses sell to belligerents?
Yeah, the federal government cannot.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about appeasing Japan and Germany. Like I told you earlier, in 1937, Japan launches a full-scale attack on China. Japanese troops take Beijing, then later they take Nanking. They use aerial bombs. Understand this, World War II is all about attacks on civilian life. Like normally civilians are considered off limits for war. That is not the case with World War II. Rape is used as like a huge tactic of war. Because again, like rape is not necessarily so much about the sex as it is about the destruction of morale and like the enforcement of power, I guess. So, and it's not just like Japanese soldiers who are used in rape. It's American soldiers, it's German, Russian, like everybody's doing it. So we get what's called the Rape of Nanking. Does your book spell this with a J or a K? Doesn't matter, I'll do it both ways. So we got the Rape of Nanking, December 1937. Japanese forces kill probably 400,000 Chinese people and rape approximately 20,000 Chinese women. FDR, go ahead.
These are just citizens.
These are random citizens, exactly, which is why we keep talking about that idea of World War II targets civilians specifically. Like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Was that a military base? It's a regular random city. That's an attack on civilians. Yeah, so they rape approximately 20,000 Chinese women. FDR does not call this war. So the Japanese are actually able to continue to buy war supplies from the United States. So again, do you see how those neutrality acts are subjective? It's what FDR determines war, or what Congress is determining war. Then we know Hitler wants Lebensraum, right? Lebensraum just means living space. So Hitler wants Lebensraum. So he takes possession of Austria in March of 1938, and that's called the Anschluss, or the joining of Austria and Germany. So here, hold on. Hitler took possession. Oh, back up. He wants living space for what?
Germans.
He wants Germans. He wants living space for Germans. He wants them to be united into a single homeland. So that's going to mean like redrawing boundaries of Europe to include all the Germans. Because again, this is nationalism, and nationalism is really what's fueling World War II. So Hitler took possession of Austria. It's called the Anschluss, which equals joining of Austria and Germany. Remember, his whole point is he's trying to join all Germans into a single homeland. Then we know he starts calling for the Sudetenland. And the Sudetenland is like the western border of Czechoslovakia. Then he calls for the Sudetenland equals western border of Czechoslovakia. And that's because it's populated by German textile workers. So he needs to incorporate them into his Germany. So he needs that land. Britain and France at the same time are like, you know what? Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. We can't do this, people. So they come up with the Munich Conference. So Munich Conference, Britain, France, Italy, the Western European allies basically meet and they're trying to appease Hitler, or like placate Hitler and make him like stop leading Europe to war. So what is their plan for appeasement? What are they going to do? They're going to give him some things in an effort to avoid war at all cost. So they agree to give Hitler Czechoslovakia, the Sudetenland. Sudetenland. And to avoid war.
But that's not even their country, right?
No, it's not. But, like, why are we trying to, like, why placate him? Like, why appease him? You just got out of World War I. Not only did you just get out of World War I, but what else is going on? You're in the midst of the Great Depression. Can Europe, forget Britain and France, can Europe afford a World War II at this point? They cannot. So they're just like, you know what? Give him the land and move on with your life, whatever. How's that going to turn out for you? What happens when you give crazy people stuff that they want? They want more. Yeah, like, think about it. Like, you know little kids, right? I have a nephew. He's 8. If I give him 10 Skittles right now, 15 minutes later, guess what? You want 10 more Skittles. And then we start negotiating. Then it's like, well, can I have 6? Well, just go ahead and give me 5. And then I'm like, okay, here, take 5. Well, can I have 8? 5 minutes later, guess what? My bag of Skittles is gone. Do not negotiate with terrorists, people. That is the moral of this story. Do not negotiate. But that's exactly what the Munich conference is. So we've got Neville Chamberlain. He's like the person who's most associated with the appeasement plan. And this is like Great Britain's prime minister. Britain's prime minister, who is associated with appeasement plan. Basically, give Hitler land. You can't offer people land and expect them to stop there. Like, there's nothing about his personality that should have made Great Britain and France think, oh, once he gets to Sudetenland, his Lebensraum dreams will be realized. And he'll be happy. No. Because he laid this all out for you in Mein Kampf, happy people. He laid it out. Cool. So I've got like 10-15 minutes left of 33 that we will finish on Wednesday, and then we'll cover 34 on Wednesday too. Cool. Have a great day.